Good day, my name is Sipongwe. I'm head of communication at the Competition Commission. The Commission celebrates 25 years of its existence, and we look into the beautiful work that it has done, some significant milestones, and we talk to a number of executives inside the Commission. DC, good afternoon, and thank you very much for the interview. We really appreciate it. We are focusing on the past 25 years of the Competition Commission, and we're looking at the work that has been done. And of course, there have been significant milestones for the Commission. What are the milestones, the activities that you would consider as significant in terms of the past 25 years?
Thank you, Sipo, and thank you for this opportunity. It's really an important milestone, this, for the competition authorities in South Africa. I think for the past 25 years, we have made remarkable progress. If you were to ask me, what are those things that we have done the most? I think we've been able to dismantle cartels in South Africa. There were many sectors riddled with cartels. Construction, steel, cement, those cartels are not there anymore. Cartels in fertilizer, those cartels are not there anymore. We tackled very important abuse of dominance cases, excessive pricing cases against metal in steel, a couple of excessive pricing cases in pharmaceuticals, particularly drugs that affect really the poor. But very early on, we looked at a case in ARVs, and we tackled that case. And today, we made an impact such that it ensured that those ARV drugs are accessible. And we've done most of those cases since then. A lot of work in merger control, a lot of work in advocacy. I can go on and on about the things that the competition authorities have done in the country.
And then in terms of those, of course, widely published, but then we seem to have moved another gear in terms of inquiries, market inquiries. What do you think has been the development there, and why are they important? Why has that tool suddenly become important?
This is an instrument that was adopted right, towards the end of, around about 2008, 2009. Although the Act itself, the way it's crafted, it does allow for the Competition Commission to look into sectors broadly, look at issues of market transparency. If you look at the very first market inquiry, the one in banking, when we did that inquiry, we didn't have the formal powers to conduct these inquiries. Then the Act was subsequently amended. We tackled, big inquiries in healthcare, retail, LPG sector, and we, looked at data markets. And then the Act was subsequently, further strengthened because there was a concern that we are not able to make binding remedies, towards businesses. So the Act was subsequently amended. We looked at this online intermediation inquiry market. You have seen results there. You have seen results in the fresh produce market. And there are many other inquiries that we're going to be doing, in steels, polymers, and poultry. And this is a very important power that we have because it allows the Competition Commission to look holistically into the market. So you look at, can it be regulatory failures? It could be market structure issues, but you don't look specifically just into one company. Whereas with other instruments like abuse, you have to look maybe just one company, but to tackle the challenges we face, the approach of just going one company after the other can take many, many years.
And indeed, we're looking at sectors, and some of the sectors, for example, you mentioned steel. They are troubled sectors. They lead to unemployment, companies closing. And I think the recent debate now must be around how do you align government priorities with some of the work that you do? How important is that alignment given so many challenges that we face as a country?
Very important, that Sipho, because very early on, the Competition Commission realized that to be effective, we need to prioritize. Not only prioritize, but prioritize areas with the greatest impact. We looked at issues of food, intermediate industrial products, which is steel, areas where we have a lot of cartels, and areas where the conduct affects the poor, the poorest of the poor. So if you look at the bread cartel, it's one classic example. That you tackle that area, you address issues that affect the majority of our population. And coming back to the issue of steel, very important in infrastructure development in the country. But early on, you'll recall, we had challenges because Mittal or ArcelorMittal has been largest player in the country. We have seen a lot of issues with them. There were issues before we tackled those. Unfortunately, after we tackled the issues, we did not see them rising up to become that competitive and strong player, which is why we're facing the challenges we're facing now. But government is looking into this because steel is a very, very important sector for our economy, for our infrastructure development. So we need to be able to produce our own steel, to be able to, roll out infrastructure in a very, competitive way.
Indeed, and looking into those, then comes the issue of public interest, because we are talking about employment, we are talking about infrastructural rollout, and what has then arisen out of the many cases that we are dealing, particularly on mergers, you have to take into issues of social context. And how important is that intervention? We are talking about alignment in terms of the other work that we do, but how important is this part of public interest?
Public interest is at the core of our Competition Act in the country. I say this because if we look just at the preamble of it, it says, well, we need to address, past historical injustices of apartheid. We need to ensure that our markets are inclusive. People that were disenfranchised are able to participate in these markets. So public interest is at the core of it. And it even more pronounced in merger control, because this is where assets change hands. And the target and focus here is that when assets change hands, as we know, mergers may lead to job losses. We start asking questions. What is the impact on jobs? Recently, we are asking what is the impact, on participation by employees or by any other parties, historically disadvantaged persons that should participate in these transactions, and issues around sector impact. So we not only look at competition issues or challenges that a merger would bring about, but we look at the social impact. And that's a very distinctive factor of our competition law here in South Africa. And we have seen many other countries on the continent and elsewhere adopting this kind of approach.
And given the fact that we play a very significant role internationally, I would want us to look at the role South Africa is playing. Of course, we have been leaders, first of all, in issues of public interest and many other areas. How important is our role in terms of our international and continental participation?
South Africa, as you know, there's a lot, I think, just the impact, of our founding father, Nelson Mandela. With his leadership and vision, he propelled South Africa into this very, leading voice on many issues, human rights issues. We are at the forefront as the country. Issues of ensuring that we address inequalities in our economies. Those are the issues that drive South Africa. And that cascades down to authorities, including ourselves. So when we go and participate in, regional structures, continental structures, or globally, even at the highest at the UN level, we ensure that what we project as South Africans is that posture that says we should, as the countries, grow together. We do not take, that, big brother, approach. We are more collaborative, and that's why we've been more impactful in the many things that we have done, throughout the world.
And very impressive. And I think you guys, from the leadership point of view, we have led from the front. And I think we have seen the commitment of the staff of the Commission in ensuring that the vision of the Commission is achieved or is pursued. And how important is that leadership? How important is that leadership being, given the fact that it is always said, your soldiers may be as weak, but what is more important is the general. And you as generals, over the years, for the past 25 years, you seem to have given leadership. You seem to have raised the institution to be an institution of excellence that it has been. What are the determining features, or what are the things that stand out in terms of that leadership?
What has happened over the years, and I think this is all the way from 99, we have been quite fortunate to have visionary leaders who made it clear and put it out there quite clearly that competition authorities are here to contribute meaningfully to the economy. We even aligned our priorities to the National Development Plan. The reason being that we need to sell this vision to our staff, to the stakeholders that we serve, that we are not just here to be, enforcing the law, without regard to our context, without regard to the challenges that we face as a country. So as the Competition Commission, we have put that, at the forefront. And we've ensured that, by the way, we reflect every year. We have this annual conference. For some, it's a very interesting, place to be. But for us, it's a time for reflection. We go there, we invite people, they come, they speak, but we are reflecting, we are listening, and we take a lot of things out of that. We engage very closely with our, government departments, because we need to ensure that whatever we're doing, we are aligned, but remaining, of course, independent. It is prescribed in the law. But what has distinguished us, and what I think has inspired our teams, is that we have set out the vision, and we have led from the front. So we are part of the cases. We are part of the deliberations. We are part of the team. So that, I think, on its own does inspire the teams.
And amongst the key stakeholders who have been the biggest beneficiaries are the consumers. Why is the competition law and competition policy regulation important from a consumer protection point of view?
This is, a very important instrument, to protect consumers, because we are regulating here the affairs of businesses, particularly large businesses, including monopolies. So if we do not look into these markets, chances are the companies may dominate these markets. As you know, most companies are profit maximizing. And without a regulator, you'll see companies, moving towards, profit taking in the market. We are there to ensure that the welfare of the consumer is protected. I've said to you, bread cartel as an example. We are pretty much, you break a cartel, you take a rand back to the consumer because the prices drop. And when they drop, we see the impact that we are making.
But now, are you still going to be able to make that impact given the fact that it seems as though everything is moving to platforms? And that, I'm sure, has complicated the work of the Commission. How big a challenge is that?
This is a new market, I suppose. This is, the other kind of industrialization that we have been discussing about in the fourth industrial revolution. As you know, the president very early on prepared, a blueprint, with the, former vice chancellor of UJ, Professor Marwara. They put together a blueprint on how South Africa should respond. And the response of South Africa is that we should ensure that these platforms are accessible. These platforms operate in a manner that is fair, that doesn't squeeze, small businesses, that doesn't squeeze out our consumers in the market. So you'll see with the market inquiries that we've done, online intermediation one, we looked at big platforms that are, trading goods in those e-commerce platforms in the country. And we've been able to address a lot of other issues. And you're right, there are challenges for the future. What do we do? How do we respond? Do we sit back and say, well, this is a different market. This is now AI. How do we respond to this? This is where our global reach comes into play, because we will be and we continue to collaborate with other competition regulators. These problems that you're talking about here are not just facing South Africa. They are facing the US, facing European countries. They are facing China, all BRICS countries. They are facing our economies on the continent. So together with other regulators, we should be able to respond to this and ensure that our consumers on the continent, and particularly in South Africa, continue.
So collaboration is key. What I have heard, even in the last conference, whether it's internal, whether it's external, it seems as though one of the key important issues is to collaborate. How important is collaboration throughout, whether it's internally or even internationally?
Collaboration, that's one of the key pillars of effective regulation, right? So you need to collaborate. You need to be able to have your own internal capacity to investigate. You need to have working teams. So now with collaboration, it gets us to, it's both internally, right? It starts with teams. I won't delve much into that. But with stakeholders, we have to work with business, labor. Most strategies that we're developing were after those consultations. We get feedback from Parliament, feedback from all other stakeholders, even local government, because it's very important that we do this. And globally, we are working in UN, UNCTAD, SADC, AFCFTA, broader AU community. We are there because we know that we will not have solutions to all the problems that we face. Some solutions could be coming from next door. Some solutions could be coming from things that other authorities have done before. So we do learn from our, other peer authorities, whether, older than us, some younger than us, but we do learn in a very collaborative way.
Jesse, thank you very much. Is there anything that you think we haven't covered that you think is an important aspect of the Commission's life over the past 25 years?
The Commission, in my sense, is that it's here because we've been able to develop a credible system. So it's the Competition Commission, the Tribunal, the Appeal Court, and the work, of course, that the courts do. So we have been able, through out these 25 years, been able to establish what I think are world-class institutions that are quite effective, that are quite credible. And it's been, and of course, I should have said something about the media out there as one of our big stakeholders, because most of our messages that we disseminate are disseminated through media platforms, and it's one of that key stakeholders that we would like to keep closer, but of course, from a distance. Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Let me release you to your meeting. I really appreciate it. Thanks.